2, 1. Here we are.
Hello. Here we are. Weren't we here before?
I think so.
Seems familiar. Things are a little wet today. You know, we had some rain. Always like on a movie set, right? They just hose everything down. It gives everything depth. You know, everybody calms
Right.
down a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
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 I know that we're going to be talking about the third part of a process that I suggested we deal with, was beginning with awareness, right? And then we were dealing with process. And today, I think we'll move on to objectification.
Great.
And, you know, this is very terminal to this argument, this discussion, principally because it's like the objective. Right? Well, we could use OBJ through through the whole discussion about objectives or obstruction or things like that.
Yeah.
The whole English language, for those of us who don't know it, is built around 3 items principally: subject, verb, and object. So even in the way we speak, we may be partially unaware that the objective, the object of our action, verb, not just verbs of being, in this case, we're talking about verbs of action, would lead the subject, which could be, a person, us, or whatever, or it could be in direct association with the object. So in a sense, we're dealing with 2 different sides of the same word, for lack of anything else that's coming to my mind, with a verb joining them or chaining them together. It seems simple enough to speak this way. I'm sure that if I stopped right now and started analyzing the way I'm speaking, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna make it through this?
Yep.
I would be able to determine that everything I say has a subject, verb, and an object,
Right.
direct object or indirect object, right? Or you could object to the object.
Sure.
Big word, a big nice word. Where are we going? What's our destination? What's the point, really? What's the point? That here we are, you and I, entrepreneurs. If it's like George Bush said, what the French know about entrepreneurs, they don't even have a word for it. It's like, okay, Mr. President, entrepreneur is a French word. Don't tell him that, it just confuse him even more. So we are talking about achievement, about getting something that we as persons are striving to obtain. OB, another OB word, right?
Yeah.
I know that, or is that obtain? OBTAIN, right? Okay. Sometimes Google has to do my thinking for me, and
I do that.
I get, this is an opportunity for me to speak. Google can just wait, right? If they can. So back to the subject is we've got objectification, or the outcome, the destination. What is the object of our interest? What is the object of our accomplishment? Things like that. And then now we're going to need a linguist here pretty soon to, have me pause so she or he can explain what the hell it is I'm saying to me and to everybody else. But it is in line with what we are talking about cranking up our levels of awareness and being able to see beyond what we see, at least to open up some ideas about the process, second in line, about how we go about doing this. Doing what?
Right.
Well, let's say we want to do something with our actions, through our person. And this process, I'll lean on that word for a time being, is not always estimable, right? We don't always know what it is that's going to happen. So as an example, I would say, okay, you're on LinkedIn, you're looking for a job, and when I do it, I look in the middle of the reply for that "you" word, right? Unfortunately, and it's like, okay, got it, right? Okay, the rest is just chicken feed. I'm not interested. And by the way, there is no incentive for communication there. Their object is not to hire me or us to do the job. Right? And I thought, in this process, I wrote something down. I hope it's not too out of line in terms of reaching an accomplishment, but there's a lot that's involved for people who are serious about what they're doing and they want to achieve their objective. And I just scribbled this down really fast, but I'd like to read it to you.
Okay.
And it's really a commentary.
Okay.
And it says, love the hat. Yeah, love the hat. The question to the applicant, can you be of service to those to whom you appeal? So we become a bit objective. I'm going to wear this word out, right?
Okay.
Instead of subjective, we have it, and certainly not predicate active. We use the single parts of the word. I said, can you be of service to those to whom you appeal?
Right.
It isn't necessarily a matter of your abilities or talents, but do your appeals satisfy the needs of those to whom you seek to be of service?
Okay.
So we're trying to reach an objective, get a job, but we're not truly seeing ourselves from an objective point of view. We think in our head through this process that they should be able to see what we can see. I mean, it's obvious if you just spend the time and go through my resume or my profile, or my cover letter or all the other stuff you asked me to do, which of course is pre-printed. All I do is click here, click there, whatever, import, paste, whatever it takes, but I'm missing the object.
Okay.
And the object is to know that I am, whether I'm applying for a job or whether I'm establishing a proposal, what is the objective? And am I answering the questions? Am I qualifying for this position? And I think that really gets to the point of how much interest do we have? Because if I really want something in my life, I can have it. You've heard me say before, if you can write it down, you can have it.
Sure.
That's clarity, right? That's being able to look at things differently than saying, I applied for 10 jobs today. Yeah, I clicked on the simple one where it says, well, okay, simple apply or whatever they call it. And then I'm 10, and then I wait for all of the denials, all of the unfortunately letters.
Right.
And I ask myself then, what am I doing? If I want this $100,000, $200,000 job, which I certainly could prove I wouldn't hit the ground running on most of them, like a job in Singapore, for instance.
Right.
I would say, well, give me some time. I need to, become accustomed to what it is you guys want, which they have implied. And I'm not, I'm not passing judgment on them. not in a way, because they don't know what they're looking for. They're looking for a magic answer too, or magic person. And like you were talking about being a programmer, lots of times we see things from our own point of view exclusively, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I found a job I really, really like, it would be like you when you're doing your research. Your
Mm-hmm.
prime example of proposals, for instance, of pointing this proposal in a direction that answers all the questions. I've been listening to our previous broadcast, as you can probably tell already.
Right.
And, you've hammered in all of the nails. The heads are beneath the wood. You can rub your hand across it. It's smooth. And that is the way to achieve your objective. But I don't think people do that. And I don't think they do that with very much in mind at all. We're kind of like victims, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've decided I'm going to live a life of victimization. But to be fair, if your car breaks down and you don't know how to fix it, then it's a matter of time, money, if you have it available, can you make the arrangements so to keep your costs down, in whatever area it applies in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We can approach our desire for success in a more conscious fashion.
Sure.
We should talk about consciousness next.
Sure.
Not only do we have people who profess that nobody can explain consciousness. I'd like to give it a shot, because it seems to me that in pursuit of this awareness and then process and then objectification, we are turning ourselves into an object as well. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I am this item that I am promoting.
Right.
And to be honest with myself, which I think would be a great surprise to people, I have to say, maybe, and I'll be blunt about it, I'm not really qualified for this job, but because it's like acting, and I can give them all the reasons why I'm not.
Okay.
Or we can talk about things very honestly, right? Which I think really just frightens the bejesus out of people on
Sure.
both sides. If you come to them and say, I don't know whether or not I would be a perfect match for you, but I certainly see how I could be of benefit, how this job could benefit me. And I'm not going to take the time, because it's an easy apply, right, to convince you, maybe just on 3 points. That will reduce the tension level here, right?
Okay.
Of why I see myself in this job,
Mm-hmm.
or why I see myself in this competition.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy the other day from the Middle East. He's one of a pretty high-ranking fellow, and he said, let me know if I can help you. And I said, well, from the description of your position, and I chose, shipbuilding. And I said, I got a guy who builds ships, among other things. And I would like to find out if you have an explicit need for X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back and he said, well, we've got this innovation forum. And I came back to him and I said, thank you very much. I know about it, of course. But he's not looking for a trade show.
Right.
He wants to know whether or not you can put him in touch with the right person, which this guy represented himself to be, and an advisor to the crown or whatever. But he just blew me off, I think.
Right.
So I said, and thank you very much, but apparently you're not the right source. And I
Sure.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that those kinds of comments, which I can be rather blunt about, the older I get, or I should say, the more experienced I get, the less I am in interested in coddling people,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, fine. And I think the after effect of something like that is honesty, right?
Mhm.
Being blunt
Sure.
without saying, you're not helping at all,
Mhm.
but just saying to him what I'm thinking about
Mhm.
is that could I have written that in a different way? Or I want it easy, I want
Yeah.
easy apply. I
Yeah.
want to say, put me in touch with the guy who runs your Navy, right? Because we can build
Mhm.
some ships and obviously you need it. I should be talking with Zelensky, but they don't have a coastline anymore.
Right.
Whoops. That's a political joke. Not so funny. So I think that mixing this process
Yeah.
with this object is, how do I get to where I'm going? Do you have a map? Do you have a road map?
Right.
And you want to drive the truck. And if you're in the Army and you're being asked, are there any truck drivers among you? And the people who raise their hands
Mhm.
are given wheelbarrow detail.
Okay. Okay.
That's all
Right.
left to interpretation.
Right.
But the point being here is that the obstacles that one faces in trying to achieve their objective
Mhm.
can be, I make great ice cream. I'm working on an elixir right now. I'm also a beer maker and a wine maker. And the guy is saying, well, that's really great, but we're shipbuilders.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I can take my talents and I can apply them to shipbuilding. It's like, okay, when we need a cook or a sous chef or whatever, we'll give
Uh-huh.
you a call, but
Uh-huh.
probably
Uh-huh.
not.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
And
think you look like you want to comment, and I'm more than happy to be reprieved on this. So
sure.
please
Yeah. I
do
think
say something.
so. From what I'm hearing, like to find a process, the first step that we discussed as well is, being aware, being, of what's going on and putting yourself in that space. And then from there, it's kind of skipping over the process, but having an objective goal and where you want to go to. But you can't really find that objective until you're in awareness. And I mean, the true objective, there'll be everybody, we discussed it yesterday about marketing and mainstream media and, anybody, even, your loved ones or your whoever you see as your boss or even just mentors. But to find that true objective of why, I mean, maybe we're talking about the meaning of life here, but, why we are here and what we are meant to do is really difficult, but I think can only be found in this space of awareness. And like we said, perhaps the key to consciousness is something that can assist us in gaining that awareness in order to figure out what it is we want to do, what's the objectives, and then from there work out the process. Okay, if I'm take this step, I'm going to be a step closer, or I think I might be a step closer. But you don't know until you take the step, and then you can reanalyze and say, yes, I am a step close. Let's keep taking steps in this way, or say, actually, that's taking you in the wrong direction. So let's change direction. But yeah, this whole combination of the three that we're talking about so far, awareness, process, and objectivity, all kind of merge into this aspect of what is it we want to do. And the mainstream, like we were talking about LinkedIn and applying for a job, it's kind of those I mean, that social media, for one, that social media platform says you need to go out and apply for a job. You need to sell yourself. You need to write your profile, make sure it's looking good, and, get some recommendations. But really, I think it's more of what we're doing now is just open, honest expression of opinions and saying, like, this is me. And yes, go out and have conversations with people, but don't, I mean, this is what we talked about in the past. We don't have to push it. We don't have to try and jam it down somebody's, even if they're saying, hey, we got this job opportunity open. I mean, in the perfect world, would love for them to come to us. And I mean, the only way that is going to happen is for us to be out there and be, expressive and, maybe a little bit outside of the box. So, we get noticed. And yeah, in some cases, perhaps like, controversial or having a difference of opinions, but it's really just being open and honest about how we feel, and that is rare these days, and even forbidden on some platforms. You're not allowed to talk about things that aren't in line with the mainstream narrative. But this is what I believe the world needs more of, and I think those that recognize what anybody has, and in this case we're talking about us, okay, the Danny Thiel and Troy Sadowski combination of producer, introducer, data scientist, technologist, who are willing to actually be open and honest and not kind of what we were saying. We may not be the answer to everybody's immediate need.
Everything for everyone, huh?
Yeah. And this is where I guess, particularly in my past, and I've done it, I mean, from lying on your resume to trying to fake your way through a conversation, these things are kind of what people, I guess, I mean, as communities and societies come to, take as normal. But I want to shift that around and say, okay, let's not look for jobs. Let the jobs look for us. And that may be, I don't know, the wrong way, or may not be possible, but it'd be great if the whole thing was turned around. And I mean, yeah, it's not that we can't see how, I don't know, whether it's stressful or, working back negatively on society when these mainstream, I mean, we've talked about it before, from coming from education to health to finances, and there's a lot of systems that are broken in the world. And this one of, okay, where do we fit? How do we find value? How do we exchange value as individuals? It's in those broken systems that enable, kind of force you to go through this process of, okay, go to school, then, try and put together an application to get perhaps into a university. Once you get out of that, okay, sell yourself, okay, stand in front of a panel, say, why should we employ you? But I'd love to all that be done beforehand, like these YouTube videos or these, presences online where we can say, this is me, this is what I'd love doing, whether it is from, making ice cream to building artificial intelligence software applications, it's turned around, and someone's okay. Entrepreneurs, we talked about that, is looking for a new social media platform. Who's out there that can help me? I'm looking for someone who can do marketing, someone who can do data science, and not to use mainstream big tech words, but I guess they Google it and up comes Danny and Troy. And then they say, hey, we've got a job for you. And would you like to do it? And then we'll be like, okay, maybe, or yeah, that's perfect. That's where I want to see, us heading. And I guess if that is an object or could be objectified from a space of awareness and, learning in history and past knowledge, and I think we are exploring the process and the steps in order to get there. Which is this video? Is there past videos? Is there a continuation of the Danny and Troy show?
I think it's particularly difficult these days because, I think that I have the seed of a conspiracy theorist planted in me.
Okay.
When thinking 2 years of this COVID thing.
Right.
Right. And now it's sort of disappeared. Right.
Sure.
Because Ukraine is much more significant. And before that, it was Donald Trump. And it seems to me, that this thing is on a rail. And somebody is deciding, or some panel of people are deciding what happens next. The US is saying, okay, we can accept this, we can accept that. And I'm thinking, I posted this on LinkedIn today. I said, this US mascot, Uncle Sam, rumor has it that he's being replaced by, how did I put it? Little Miss, oh God, I can't remember what I wrote now. Little Miss Busybody.
Okay.
Right.
Sure.
And it's like, because really and truly, that's what happened.
Right.
We had the world taken away from us for health reasons. I mean, you need a carte blanche for everything. It's got to be health reasons. We're doing this for you, man. We're trying to save you. Even though we created it, here in the United States and then exported it to China, we're going to blame China for bringing it back to us, right? Because what was it, added functionality or something like that. And it's such bad planning. It's like, it's like living in New York City. In living in New York City, you don't understand how it works. I don't think anybody does. It just does.
Okay. Sure.
Somehow or another, in all of that confusion and variety and things that don't work, something that does work comes out of it, and everybody wants to go and see whether or not they can be part of this thing. But I would much rather have my freedom. And I think when I was growing up, I was assured that there were golden keys, right? University education was a golden key, right? And then it was something else. And then it was the car I drive. And then it was, who I'm sleeping with, or who I'm married, or what job does she have, or all this other stuff. But it always boiled down to one element I've mentioned before is give me 10 seconds with the person.
Right.
With people.
Yeah.
And we're looking for substitutes of what can we substitute on the internet for real bona fide conversation with the person.
Exactly.
There's nothing to substitute it with. It's all like phony. It's all like, avatarish or whatever. It's not real. And how do I know? Because in some sense, I believe that I am being guided to not believe myself.
Sure.
And that, I can believe Google, certainly, because they're Google. It's like, we used to say, well, it must be true. I think this is Creedence Clearwater Revival, right? Because I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
Or it was in the newspaper. Or you've got some, I don't know, people, I guess they're people in the State Department or the Department of Defense. Even the word itself is like, we're defending you. We're going and we're shipping arms, so people can get into conflict. And that's not it. It's military industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about 50 years ago or longer. Right? It's all about the money. And then because you got to feed these politicians so that when they retire, they get to, have a house on Martha's Vineyard and $62 million in the bank. Like, who was it? Hillary, who said that she and Bill, when they left the White House, they were broke.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's something they're not telling us, They achieved their objective through means that are not public, that are not explained to us. And, but yet we're somehow or another not chosen, right? And in order to be chosen, of course, you've got to be elected to office. In order to be elected to office, you've got to sleep with the right people, metaphorically, partially, right? And it's all like set up already.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have a chance, and then you just do what we tell you to do. Keep your feet off the furniture, and we'll give you a chance. But yet at the same time, you're never going to get anywhere unless, and here's a mystery I would like to have unveiled, because it surely didn't work with Tesla, the man, but it's working for Elon Musk. And Musk is saying, now, why is this situation the way it is? I don't think he had it in mind that his objective was to own Twitter. Well, how can you own electrons? You can manage them, or speaking platforms or whatever, but it's if it could be achieved without having an application on the internet, so you can actually say what you want to say anyway, and not be, I don't know, monitored by whoever. Some of these people, they look weird. I mean, even Musk, I saw him on TED, and it's like, I don't have any idea about what you're talking about.
Okay.
He'll like 3 or 4 words fit together, and then he's over here and he's over there, and everybody's listening for something. He's saying something, I just don't get it. Well, maybe he's not saying anything at all, but he owns SpaceX, la, 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 everything. And I'm supposed to be in this way incomprehensible.
Okay.
It was a 50-minute discussion and everything else. And I'm thinking, and then every time you look at him, he's like, I don't know, Happy Jack. And it's like, Elon, I don't get it, man. What is it about you? Because it's certainly not about me and what I think is normal. And I don't know, how did he put together SpaceX? How do you do that?
I know.
I think people are asking, they want to know. And now, what does it change? How does it change things that Elon is the owner, I guess you could say, or majority share owner of Twitter? Well, does that, if you play the game, give him the authority to make the rules about how we behave, since the U.S. Constitution has been turned into dirt?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting topic, this whole, social media as a whole. And from my understanding, Elon Musk wants to remove the control that's already there. ever since Trump was booted off. I mean, there'll be people booted off Twitter before, but especially Trump and this shutdown of freedom of speech, and you're not allowed to say that, and you're not allowed to do this, and this has kind of been at a pinnacle or a tipping point, I guess, of social media demise, but by the people, and certain people, not certainly not the majority, but people, and one of those people was Jack Dorsey, the owner or the founder of Twitter, and said, look, well, just paraphrasing here, but he wanted to get out, and he said, look, I'm not going to be a part of this anymore. And then this board with these people that kind of wanted or have power and control over what's allowed to be said and what's not, said, okay, we're going to own Twitter, and in that board sense, even though they're not shareholders, have been directing the narrative around Twitter. And eventually Elon Musk has come in and said, look, because he likes Twitter so much, I guess, and uses it for whatever purpose he wants to, says, look, I don't like the way it's headed. I want to open it up. And this is what he was talking about, I guess, in the recent talks that I've seen him on, and open it back up to being more open and free. And his objective, I guess, was similar to what we've been talking about, is having this platform where we can express ourselves without being shut down, without major corporations saying you can't say that and you're not agreeing. So having a platform that is open for difference of opinion and dissent is what I believe Elon Musk is looking for. And by taking it over, I hope, who knows what he does afterwards, but I believe it's to be made more open and available for people to have interesting conversations, or real conversations, open and honest conversations, that allows for, like we were talking at the beginning, people to interact and say, yes, I see what you're saying, I agree or I don't agree. And even if you don't agree, let's have a conversation, and being able to have a conversation about difference of opinions. And that can lead to new, creations, innovations. This is what I think helps these new levels of entrepreneurship to come outside of the boxes. But without a free and open and honest platform for people to have discourse, we're stuck in the old way. Okay, go to school, get a degree, apply for a job, and then it's put us in where we are today, which I guess we still, breathing. We have a beautiful planet, but I think things could be better in terms of the way the systems are structured and direct attention. And this these platforms that you said, wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to depend on technology at all? That's an interesting aspect. And I think that comes down to the first point of being aware for ourselves, and deciding, okay, what am I going to do today? What is my objective for the, I guess, the day? But that can be cut down. I mean, this is that agile and iterative programmer in me coming out. But if you take you said 10 seconds, every 10 seconds, what is the objective at the end of this 10 seconds? Well, for me, I mean, ultimate objective, and what I guess not ultimate, but one I guess we've been talking about, and it's related to context, is having a free, open platform that can be available for myself to start with, to just talk and express my opinions and allow that to be whatever it, whatever comes of that. And yeah, if I can take action in the next 10 seconds, which is this video, and talking about, okay, that particular subject, then that's what I'm going to do. And if people like it, I mean, this is the other aspect. We've got, it's not just me. Now I've got Danny Teal to bounce ideas off and to say, what do you think of that? And, is this something that is of interest to you as well? And if we can provide that for others, and yeah, we've been talking about Tao Te Ching.
Yeah.
Is our goal of allowing people to interact, have interesting conversations. And yeah, the technology, I think, is there, but the platform, I mean, bringing it together and marketing it and allowing people to know about it. Again, this is what we're doing. This is what we're talking about. We've got people like Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey teaming up, and even before that, people in decentralized platforms, Decentraland and blockchain technology, saying, let's get rid of the old way of doing social media because it is so controlled, monopoly run. And it now, I'm not sure, but it seems like Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey are teaming up to do exactly that and create a free and open social media platform that allows people to have interesting conversations.
Let me inject something here. Now, we've spoken about before as well, is that we're talking on a level of, I'd like to think, inspiring people, right? Inspiring people to take action. So it seems to me that this platform that we're talking about is getting people's interest, building a fire, starting a fire,
Sure.
To get people excited, and so that they can access those energy sources within themselves to feed their excitement, to want to be part of something. But it is so seldom that those effects push people into actually doing something on an ongoing and continuous basis. It's nice, we had a great conversation, now I'm going to go watch TV or something like that, and or go to Walmart and go shopping, and it's lost somehow in this cyber sphere, right? But if, and I have this problem on a reality level as well, is very few people will do anything that you can depend on, that will bring about the results that you're looking for. And, it's glory, hallelujah, if you should meet someone with which, you have this kind of a conversation. And part of our job would be to keep them inspired or motivated or whatever. How do you do that? That depends on, it takes a mother's loving care to make sure that, one of your functionaries within the organization is giving his best and, keeping him lively and so on and so on. And it's almost like that's somebody else's job. Yeah. Because, when you're applying for a job, you're expected to be enthused, you're expected to be motivated and driven and all this sort of stuff. And I'm thinking it just doesn't happen because people are looking for, what's in it for me? What do
Yeah.
I get out of it? Usually in financial terms, right? Because everything is for sale and everybody knows that it's the job of every American citizen or every Westerner to spend money. Because if you can't spend money, what good are you? So, and a
Sure.
good example of this would be, and this is singular, you know, I've got a lot of good friends, and very few of them would respond in the way my postmaster does. I go check my mail and I'm thinking, you know, Joe, I don't have access to a truck right now. I'd have to rent one or whatever. But do you think we could make some kind of an arrangement, because he has a truck,
Mhm.
where we could go to Lowe's and buy some, you know, 16 footers, 2x6s, so I can finish the other wing on my barn, so I can get more cars out of the weather and put my mind at ease, at peace.
Mhm. Mhm.
And Joe is the first one to say, yeah, sure. When do you want to do it?
Yeah.
And I know that when he says it and the way he says it, that it'll actually happen.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, Joe, you know, I use him as a guinea pig on my elixirs, right? What do you think about it? He's always happy, you know, giving him stuff that I'm not using. You know, I think he could decorate his home with, and, you know, nice bottle of wine. You know, I've got so much wine, I'll never drink it. If I start drinking a bottle a day now,
Mhm.
you know, I
Mhm.
probably die before I run through all the bottles. And that's the thing, though, because then I can depend on him. I
Right.
can depend. It's not that much work, right? We get to carry the lumber. It's 16 feet long. I can do it myself. You know, I built this whole place by myself. And people are saying, how could you do that? How could you do that? And I said, leverage, right? It's a matter of leverage and
Sure.
pulleys and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
the point being that I couldn't depend on anybody. Everybody was curious enough to come by and say, when are you going to do your sheetrock? And it's like, when I get to it, right?
Okay.
Right
Okay.
now, I'm trying to reassemble the stairs that kids came by and punched and broke for the fun of it. But
Okay.
nobody wants to roll up their sleeves.
Mhm. Mhm.
Nobody, you know, and if I said to Joe, look, Joe, if you need some help around your house, man, you need another pair of hands, let me know. I'd be more than happy to come by and help you. And I tried doing that when I first got here. I said, let's get a team of people. And one weekend you come to my house, and 5 or 6 of us, you do what I tell you to. You don't have to pay for it, right? Because next weekend we're going to your house.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the weekend after that, we're going to your house. But I couldn't get a commitment. Nobody wanted to commit. Nobody, it was like, what am I? I've fallen into a nest of stupid people? Or is it me? I'm not saying it correctly, because it sure seems right, right? And here I am talking this stuff up, and I got one listener, the postmaster, right?
Okay.
And I told him, I walk in there, I said, Joe, I don't know how you survive in here. You know, he's always on the internet, on his phone. And he is so full of energy. He is bright. And he's the first one to say, you know, I'm not a very smart person, which is, I stopped contradicting him because he wasn't listening anyway. He's very bright. He just doesn't, he's got this routine, you know, he just keeps running.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I mean, do you have to be the village idiot to be dependable? You know, or
Mhm.
what part do you play? Or, you know, do I have to go home and check my emails again? Nothing's going to happen.
Mhm.
No news report is going to change my life. You know,
Sure.
the U.S. Minister of Defense and Secretary of State, they go into Kyiv to talk with Zelensky, who is now, speaking of wealthy politicians, $85 million in a couple of years.
Mm.
He's a stand-up comic.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
now he has $85 million in the bank from being president of Ukraine. Now you got to tell me, what did somebody say? Hey, if you make me laugh, I'll give you 85 million. It's like, okay, that's a fairy tale. But
Okay.
nothing is as it seems.
Sure.
And then, you know, to solicit help from Joe was so simple.
Mhm.
Now
Mhm.
it's like, okay, who do you ask? Well, you know, we're going to give you the runaround because I make $650 an hour. and I'm just going to wear you out. I don't care whether you succeed or not, because I just want to take your money. You know, there's so many some shenanigans going on
Exactly.
that, you know, truth, lies. I mean, I can't tell the difference anymore. And people are, you know, I listened to Lavrov, who is Russia's foreign minister, and the man is brilliant. And I made a comment on a YouTube video of him just speaking. And I said, the man is brilliant. I wish we had somebody like him in the US. And I can't tell you how many people told me to move to Russia, you know, get the hell out of here. And it's like, you know, that's not a bad idea, particularly if I've got to deal with people like you.
Right.
I mean, all I was saying was, I think the man is brilliant. He's making a good point. And then I'm getting, you know, shotgun wedding. You know, I've got both barrels, you know, leveled on my spine, just waiting for me to say one more good word, boy. And it's like, good God, where can I go? Or is it just, you know, another the real epidemic?
Sure, I think that is
right.
Exactly.
And then you go from a business point of view. What is it that's going to tell clients that you and I are on the up and up? I mean, we know we are. Sure. We're not trying to fake anything. I'm not trying to steal money. You know, I can live on what I've got. But then again, are we going to get people like Ronnie, for instance, or others who just want you to say, man, this is great? It's not, Ronnie, it sucks. You're never going to get anywhere. You got to change it. There's so many different variables in this formula, Troy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, how or when the right people, or, you know, the people that can resonate with what we are doing, what we are promoting, what the way we go about our business. But I think, you know, it's right for me. It's right for you. And from what I'm hearing is that we don't want to do that old rat race anymore. And there is an opportunity to leverage, use pulleys, but this day and age, it's about technology. The new pulley might be blockchain, I don't know. The new pulley might just be, well, for now we're using YouTube. These are the tools that we can use to build our own house, to build our own, I guess, environment that allows us to do what we want to do, to feel comfortable, to invite or allow people to be walking past and go, well, that's interesting, let's go check it out. And then when they come and say, how did you do that? Oh, we just leveraged current technology to do what we like doing. And then they'll, whether it's us going to them, hey, can we use your truck? I mean, or them coming to us and saying, hey, can we use your an extra pair of hands to hold the ladder while we climb up? Then yeah, that's how it evolves, I hope. But yeah, it's a long way. It's outside, it's currently outside of the current mainstream, it's outside of the box, but it has to change, I believe. Otherwise, it's just, the world is going to continue to crumble.
It's a make or break scenario, you know. Exactly. And we don't know whether we're going to make it or whether we're going to break it.
That's right. Okay.
It's that picture of the guy who's sitting on a limb, and he's got a handsaw in his right hand, and he's sawing on the limb he's sitting on.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So we can help people discover their insight into things. And I must say, the odds are that most people will not succeed.
Sure.
Particularly if they are attempting to enter a market that they are not in control of. I mean, Elon can go and, throw, what was it, 44 billion around, which, like you said, it's not about money. Of course not. You got 44 billion. What could be about money? But it's about, can you be of service to those to whom you appeal? That's
Sure.
one way of looking at it.
That's
Now,
right.
except if you are of service to whom you appeal is yourself.
Yeah.
That's like, make or break. And not every business owner, entrepreneur, jack of all trades is a success.
No.
But it's held up to us that in order to be worth something as a human being, you have to have acknowledgement from other people,
Sure. That's
and,
right.
and I must say, I've had an experience recently where, and it seems to be growing, where what it is I'm doing, okay, I'm at the point now where I know enough about what I'm doing to be able to structurally and functionally complete the task. And just the other day, it was like, okay, the only experience can take me to that point.
Sure.
Where I don't have to think, okay, what kind of screwdriver do I need? What kind of
Exactly.
screw do I need? It's just like,
Exactly.
I'm whistling while I work.
Yeah.
And then, so here I go. And then suddenly I finished it so quickly, I said to myself, maybe next time I do this, I'll make it look beautiful. Right? Instead of just functional and structurally sound and all that sort of stuff. Elephants can dance in my bathroom. Right? And it's like, well, that's not necessary, but I'm a Harley Davidson kind of guy. I like, if it breaks, I just make it twice as strong. Keep the same design going.
Right.
And so gradually that art, maybe that's the word I'm looking for, is available to people who have experience in many different fields and forms, to which it becomes symbolic of accomplishment, of getting past a point to actually being able to do the studio work. Sure. And now it's like, let's create something now that we know how to carve stone and all this sort of stuff, and how many times I've got to peck here, and how much do I need a machine or a hammer and chisel work to create, all with everything involved that we know. And we don't know everything, but we know quite a bit, especially, between us, that we can put our heads together and say, this is something, yes, you're the customer, but this is something we do for ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is symbolic of our level of accomplishment. We're trying to give a message to you, but we're also making sure that message is true to ourselves.
Exactly.
And that's what I feel like, we're bridging on. And then let's take that damn clock and throw it out the window.
Sure.
Right. That's the other thing.
Yeah. That's right.
But everything, time is money, it's on the clock, let's go. And it's like, shut up. Maybe you don't like me because I go against what you said, the narrative, directing the narrative. But if Musk or Twitter means anything to me, I think I'm a member, but I'll be damned if I ever go there.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, use it or lose it. I don't care if I lose it or not. I don't care who's running Twitter, because it doesn't make a bit of difference to me.
Yeah.
But if you can somehow or another coalesce with my idea after 9/11, when the Twin Towers fell, people say, what should we do? What should we do? And I said, talk to each other. That was the only solution I could come up with. Just talk to each other.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the function of Twitter now in a post 9/11, world. Before Blinken and Winken, Blinken and Nod all, get us involved as a great little Miss busybody going
Sure.
everywhere to try and pattern the world after this mess of a country I live in at present, called, it's such a lie, United States. What, that's the directive? That's what we're supposed to be? Because you know what? During the Civil War, we all tried to exert our individuality. And Mama didn't like that. Or Abe, or that whole northern power structure.
Exactly.
It's devious, man. It's devious.
Yeah, I mean, it also sets up the environment for something new. And whether it's Twitter kind of with new direction, I don't think so, but it could be. I think it's got to come from a totally new approach and simplicity, like you said. Let's get people, allow people to talk to each other, and the interesting conversations, whether or not they're thought of interesting to the individuals, it's up to them. But you're not going to have an interesting conversation if you're not having people talk to each other
and feeling free to talk.
And feeling free,
right?
Yeah.
Instead of wondering whether or not all the instruments in the post office are recording me and Joe's conversation.
Exactly.
Which no doubt, some other devious people are designing that
Exactly.
horrible institution.
Yeah.
Ben Franklin, I'm sure, is turning over in his grave for having started the United States postal what? It's not a service. And to hear the insider's view about what's going on, it's all pretentious. It's all pretentious. They hate each other. That's why you talk about going postal. What happens is people reach the end of their rope. And then they bring a weapon to work with them.
Sure.
And then just start killing.
Yeah.
And finish up the job by killing themselves because they know what's in line for them.
Sure.
Yep.
So yeah, I think the world needs more options. Otherwise, that seems like the only option.
Okay, I think we've frightened the audience.
Okay.
If we've done our job.
Yeah.
All right, man. This is very intense stuff.
A lot in that.
So then.
Yep.
Yep.
Till tomorrow.
It's okay with you, then we'll pick up tomorrow, talk about consciousness.
Beautiful.
Yeah, consciousness, and eventually we'll get to inspiration.
All right.
Yeah.
Great.
And then I think we will kind of have like our Pentateuch, our first 5 books of the Bible.
Right.
And yeah.
Great.
We'll another Quran. Except
Yeah.
this time you got 2 prophets.
Sure.
At least. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Troy. Nice to see you. If you look better. Get 100% well.
I'm doing my best.
Okay.
Yep.
There's the objective.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Ciao, man.
Bye.
Yes, sir. Bye.